Welcome to Founder Fundraising Feedback. My name is Steve. I'm known as the Hands-On Angel, and I've spent the last 9 years talking to 6,000 early stage founders, predominantly at the pre-seed stage, about early stage tech investing. I've personally backed 69 companies to date, and those companies have raised a combined $1.4 billion, that is with a B, and I've had 11 exits to date, and those exits have been all over the place. $15 million, up to $400 million, and everything in between. So if you were new to the room, welcome. If this is your second or third or 10th time, welcome back. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday evening. I hope everybody's had a good day. What size of the teams? What size of your team to keep up with the 69 businesses? You're going to think I'm full of shit when I say this. I have me, and I have someone that helps me on the technical side on the back end for my website. And then I have someone that helps me with my social content, scheduling and editing videos. Does it part-time, about 10 to 15 hours a week. That's it, man. It's a really lean team. I like to do a lot of things myself. Thus, I'm the hands-on angel. That's one of the things that I do. Why you decided to be an angel investor and not a founder? I've actually been both. My last company, I'm a two-time founder. My last company was a tech company I raised venture for. And this company that I have now is a services business that helps early stage companies raise capital, create pitch decks, get them in front of investors. So I'm actually a two-time founder and I'm an angel investor. So I understand both sides of the table. I would never ask a founder to do anything I haven't done myself. I have put pitch decks together. I have raised money. I've raised a friends and family round. I've raised from venture capitalists. I've invested. I've been on the investor side. I've invested in 69 companies. I have raised with those companies $1.4 billion. And I've had 11 exits. So I have done everything under the sun relative to early stage companies, building product, raising money, exiting companies. So I think I have a little bit of context. That's kind of why I think I'm sort of uniquely qualified for this. Any businesses that you're looking into outside the US? Sure. I have 25% of my portfolio outside the US. Canada, Mexico, UK, Germany, Australia, Philippines. I've looked at companies in Israel, Italy. The only caveat is they have to have a Delaware C Corporation parent company in order to allow U.S. investment dollars, aka me and my investor friends, to come into the company. Do you also do live on X? I have an X account. I'm on LinkedIn. I've done LinkedIn lives. Whether it's LinkedIn, X, TikTok, Instagram, look up Hands on Angel. You'll see my fabulous white hair. I spend most of my time though on probably TikTok, and I'm on TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Those are probably the 5 platforms where I spend a lot of my time. At what revenue do you begin considering investment in a business? I'd like to see $5,000 or $10,000 a month in revenue, but more importantly, I'd like to see the company growing. It's okay if they only have $10,000 a month, but was it $1,000 3 months ago and it's doubling month over month? That's a really good sign. So it's not so much the dollar amount, it's the growth. If we wanted to do a one-on-one conversation with you for pre-seed, any advice? Sure. I do a limited number of one-on-ones every week with founders. There's actually a link in my bio up top. If you want to just look at my bio, there's a link right there. You can schedule a time, try to grab a time. Happy to talk to you. Do I do a live on X? I have not. I do have an X account. It's the Hands on Angel 1. I've never gone live on X. I have gone live on LinkedIn Live and TikTok so far. And also Instagram. Sorry, I've also gone live on Instagram. How true is it that 90% of startups fail? I will say 90% of startups never raise any venture capital. Only 10% do. I'd say 50% of startups fail. That's probably a more accurate number. 50% fail in the first 2 years, actually. So the numbers for me, I have 69 portfolio companies. For every 10 investments I make, every 10, 5 are going to 0, 6 and 7 are 1 to 10x, 8 and 9 are 10 to 100x, and the 10th investment is something over 100x. Could be a 200x, could be a 1000x, and it will repay the 5 that went to 0. That's the math. What sorts of roles do these companies need hired first? Usually sales, marketing, usually additional dev talent, then sales, then marketing. Those are probably the top 3 roles that a lot of these companies need. How do you think the path to profitability versus revenue growth? In the early couple of years, it's going to be revenue growth at all costs. For example, Amazon, one of the biggest companies in the world, did not make a profit for 8 years. It was all about growth. It's all about market share and growth for probably the first 2 to 3 years. However, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have a path to profitability. I think that's also important. It's a great question, by the way. So if you've raised $500,000 pre-seed, how long should we survive in the money? 12 to 18 months. investors want to see 12 to 18 months worth of runway on whatever round you've raised. You're welcome, man. How can I create a good wait list and have customers for when I launch? 3 words: build social content, UGC, user generated content. Build content about what you're building, and then have a CTA, a call to action at the end of every video. Want to learn more? Join our beta, sign up for our waitlist, join our journey. Here's our QR code, here's our website. That's exactly how I would do it. Somebody asked, can I schedule a meeting and look at my startup? If you want to schedule a meeting, I do a limited number of one-on-ones every week with founders. There's a link in my bio. Just go to my bio, click on that link. You can grab a time. How to make UGC work in B2B? It doesn't matter. I'm in the B2B space. Every one of my clients is a business. I do UGC every single day. Don't talk about you. You're thinking about content from the perspective of you. Think about your customer. Think about the problem you're solving for your customer. Are you saving them money? Making them more productive? That's what you want to talk about in your content. UGC works just as well for B2B as it does for D2C. You're thinking about it from the perspective of you. Think about it from your customer perspective and how you can talk about the problem that your product or service solves for them. That's exactly what I would do. Is it worth having a free version of a B2B app or go straight for a membership? I think you can have a free version, or you can have a lower tier that's free and then a paid tier that's higher. I think you just want to figure out your monetization strategy early. A lot of times the problem is people are like, we have 10,000 free users. I'm like, what's the paid strategy? Well, they haven't flipped the switch yet. I'm like, well, what's going to happen when you do? Are people going to leave? Is people not going to convert? Like, I think you want to have a path to that. I thought about it, and some apps become annoying when they ask recurring membership. You know what I mean? I do. But, if you can't figure out how to make money and every app I see says, oh, we're just going to sell ads, I'm like, yeah, so does everybody else say that. Since you come from tech, what is the most interesting founder you've invested in that space? My friend Eric Satz built a company called Alto IRA. I've backed the company 3 times. Eric's raised $40 million at a $240 million valuation. He allows me to use my IRA, so tax deferred dollars, to invest in things like startups, wine, crypto, and art, which I think is total badass. I think Eric could be one of my first unicorns. He's an awesome founder. How to find pre-seed investors to fund and validate my MVP. You do not find investors to validate and fund your MVP. You find customers to do that. You can pre-sell customers to do that. You can do a friends and family round, but to go to strangers to fund an MVP when you don't have customers, you haven't proven that the market wants this product, you haven't proven that you can charge money for this product, it's not a good use of your time, man. It's just not. Better use of your time, find customers to pre-sell this product to, or do a friends and family round with people that know you, that will invest in your product or service because of who you are, and they'll write a small check to get you started. That's where I would start. Thoughts on the ed tech space? Well, I had a father that was in the education space for 35 years, so I think I have an opinion. I do have some portfolio companies. I think it's long sales cycles. It's a very niche market for investors. I think there is very few exits. Having said that, sometimes you need to niche down to level up. So I think there is some valuable things being done in the ed tech space. I think AI is going to change that space, especially over the next couple of years. With AI, what's the fastest launch revenue funding cycle you've seen? Weeks, not months. Company launches a product, gets their first $10,000 in revenue in a week or two. That's probably it. Impact code analysis. Next steps you said should be UGC and pitch deck. Yeah, I would say UGC first, get people interested in what you're doing, see if you can get some betas, some pilots. And then from there, from Maine. Nice, welcome. New Englander, I love it. And then from there, see if you can get paid pilots and then put together a pitch deck once you get the users, the revenue, and the paid pilots. Yes. I have an MVP, but stuck. Okay. So Sensory, have you built user-generated content? How much content are you putting out? For example, for me, I'm putting out 40 pieces of content a week across 5 platforms. That's in addition to doing these lives 5 days a week for 10,000 founders. So I think that's something you want to lean into if you're not already doing it. I'm a founder operator of Outpatient Clinic. My MVP is SaaS. Okay, cool. Any tips to raise money for contemporary art gallery? Probably not venture. What I would say is it's probably going to be bank loans, private credit, maybe even a friends and family round. It's probably not going to be venture capitalists. That's just my opinion. Am I in Silicon Valley? I am not. I do go to Silicon Valley, but I'm actually in the Northeast right now. I was in Florida last week. I'm in the Northeast now. I split time between the Northeast, Florida, and the West Coast. Just depends upon time of year, weather, and where I'm at. Do I think investors are looking for opportunities in the real life experiences? I think so. I think in real life experiences are going to be super important going forward. What was my biggest exit? Blake. My biggest exit to date, $400 million. The company is called Lemonade Health, got bought by 23andMe for $400 million. Oh, look at Maria, already popped up on the bottom of the screen, my newsletter. For those that haven't grabbed a copy, click on the note in the bottom of the screen. Comes out every Wednesday, all types of tips and tactics for founders. It's totally free, comes out every Wednesday. If you want to learn how to raise money, how to build a pitch deck, what investors look for, grab a copy today. That was my biggest exit. What was the UK founder you invested in? Oh, shit, you had to ask me that. I can tell you my German founder's name. I have to look it up because I have 69 of them. They're like my kids. Yes, so Sensory, I do 40 plus pieces of content in a week across 5 platforms. So do the math. That's 8 pieces of content a day across 5 platforms. Absolutely. And honestly, I'd love to get to 50. I'd love to do 50 pieces of content a week. I think Alex Hormozi does like 200 a week. Gary Vaynerchuk, same thing. I did not start the company, Blake. I wish I did, but I invested in the founder in an early stage round. The founder exited, awesome dude, and he now has created a venture fund to fund other companies. Do I do one-on-one consultations? I do. So if you want to grab time with me, I do a limited number of one-on-ones with founders every week. There's actually a link in my bio. So just check out my bio. There's a link there. You can schedule a time. Why is EU software companies a little behind? Honestly, the market's just smaller. There are less investors, less innovation happening there, which is why the US, which is 75% of the world's venture capital, the fastest growing market in the world, that's just why. It's just size and scale. Great. I have great founders that build in Europe. It's just there's not enough opportunity. What makes you believe in a founder's product? In most cases, Carrington, and thank you for coming back, by the way, the founder of my 69 portfolio companies. I can't always tell you what product's going to win, but I can tell you what people are going to win. I have some of the most amazing founders that I've backed. They run through walls for their companies. They are some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. They make my life fuller and richer because I'm able to be involved with them. That's honestly what I'm betting on. What kind of a deal focus your investment interests in fund management? I don't really understand that question. Carrington, you're welcome. What do I think about spice businesses? I like spicy. I love spicy foods. That's why I love Maria's sauce. I just don't have a ton of experience there. I'm an early stage tech investor. It's not that it's a bad investment or bad businesses. I don't know enough about it. I don't understand the distribution model. I can't be as helpful. That's the only thing, but I love spicy food. As an investor, what are the top 5 businesses you would want to fund invest in the Philippines? I could tell you one of them because I've already invested in the company twice. It's a company called Edify, EDIPHI. My friend Christina is a 4-time founder, 3-time exited founder. Total badass. Started the company in Manila. Now she lives in Texas, and her development team and her operations team is still in Manila, so she splits time. Do you believe consumers are craving human responses rather than AI? Oh, I would agree that I don't think AI is going to replace humans. I think that AI is going to make humans more productive and allow them to give better response and better service. That's really what I think. Would you and your angels invest in a startup with $20 million cap, $1,000 a month, growing 20% month over month? A $20 million cap at $1,000, $100,000 a month. That's $1.2 million run rate. Little rich. I'm doing a deal right now. Company has $5 million in revenue. We're doing a $20 million cap. I have another company, $3.5 million in revenue. We're doing a $25 million cap. So I would say that run rate's a little rich. Doesn't mean I wouldn't look at it, but I would have to look deeply at it. What's the harshest piece of advice that you've had to give a founder, and did they take it? Yes. One of my portfolio companies, Rook, which builds an API that connects to wearables in the health tech space. I met the company when they came out of Techstars. At the time, the 2 co-founders were living in Mexico City. The company was a Mexico Corp. It was not a Delaware Corp. They were living in Mexico, but they were selling into the United States, and they wanted to raise venture capital. I told them I love them. I love their product. I love their passion. I told them their deck sucked. They couldn't be a Mexico Corp, and they were talking to the wrong people. So they needed to revamp their deck, which I could help them with. They needed to reestablish the company as a Delaware C, and they needed to move to the United States. That's it. I said they could build a $5 million company in Mexico, but they could not build a $400 million company in Mexico. And literally 2 weeks later, the founder called me. He said, I talked to my wife. We sell the house, we move to Miami. I'm like, oh my God. 2 little kids, by the way. Sold this house, moved to Miami, incorporated the company in Delaware. Since we've raised $2 million for them, they're going to do $1 million this year in revenue. The company is thriving. One of my success stories. And it was some of the harshest feedback I ever had to give a founder, which was they weren't ready to raise, they were talking to the wrong people, they had the wrong corporate structure, and they weren't in the right country. It's hard. The angel investors care only about the exit. No, we care about the founders. Look, if I want to make money, I can give you 10 other ways to make money. This is about being part of something that's bigger than yourself, being part of a founder's journey. That's really what it's about. How do you tell a founder to step aside? Not everyone's a CEO. I've had to do that multiple times. I sit on 8 advisory boards. Sometimes I tell the founder, you were the person that started it. It's your vision, but you're not the person to grow it. You can take it to 5 million. You can't take it to 500 million. It's a hard conversation to have, but sometimes the person that starts the company is not the person that can grow the company. Great point, Kylie. What do I think of a skincare company based in Canada? If you want to sell to Canadian companies and only get Canadian investors, fantastic. If you want to sell in the United States and get US investors eventually, you're probably going to have to consider flipping the company to a Delaware C corporation, mainly because 75% of investors are in the US and the Delaware C corporation is the most widely used corporate structure. I'm well aware that Canada have tax benefits and financial benefits to being a Canadian corporation, but my opinion is that most of the time we're going to want you to flip to a Delaware C corp if you want to get US investors and do business in the US. How should co-founders divide equity carefully? If you're 2 co-founders and you both started the company together 50-50, if 3 co-founders, 33% each, just make sure you have a co-founder agreement. Make sure you understand who's doing what responsibilities are. 4-year vest, 1-year cliff. The biggest guidance I can give is regardless of how you split the equity, make sure it's a 4-year vest and 1-year cliff. Dallas LLC, not a bad idea unless you want to raise venture. Most of the time, you're going to want to have a Delaware C structure if you're going to try to raise venture capital. What would you tell a founder whose goal is to be acquired? That's my goal. I would tell them to be patient. I have 11 exits. They've taken 9 years. The first one didn't happen to year 4. The average exit doesn't happen to between years 5 and 10. Uber didn't go public till year 8. These are long-term plays. That's what I would tell them. As a foreigner, do you think it's advantageous to get... Hold on. LLC, if you're a foreigner, LLC is okay until you want to raise venture and until you want to come to the United States. At that point, you're probably going to want to consider a Delaware C Corp. Carrington, you're welcome. Carrington, make sure you grab a copy of the newsletter. It's a gift for you tonight. Free copy right here, bottom left of the screen, this yellow arrow. Comes out every Wednesday. So if you don't think we are building a websites for American market advices, build social content, talk about why you're doing it, why you're different, talk about the problem you're solving with your tool or product, put it on social platforms 3 times a day, 5 days a week. That's exactly how I would go to market. That's it. That's where I would do. Luxury concierge brand, biggest scaling mistake to avoid. Raising money before you're ready, raising money before you have a product in market, raising money before you have paying customers. It's probably the biggest mistake I see every founder make. They raise too much money too early. That's it. It's not that I dislike businesses that sell ads. I just think they think that that's the only way to make money, that they don't ever want to charge the customers. They're just going to sell ads. Partnering with VC is not a bad way. I've got a couple law firms that I partner with. We share deal flow because I need access to deals. They need access to clients that need legal work. Matt, thanks for being here. What advice can you give a founder who's building a community based on Innovation Hub? Build social content around it. Build a community online. Do it publicly. That's exactly what I would do. How do you find firms and people to partner with? I honestly, a lot of them find me because of the content that I build, and I post 40 times a week across the social platforms. The venture funds and VCs, LinkedIn and X is probably the best place to find them. The founders, Instagram and TikTok. That'd be my opinion. Israeli investor, welcome. We should do deal flow together, man. Shoot me a DM. I'd love to hear more about your thesis and what you're doing. What metrics would make a healthcare wellness startup actually investable? Users, growth, revenue, a monetization path, like all of these things are important. What metrics? That's it. Like, is it growing month over month? Are more people using it today than last month? Those are the things that matter the most. Bootstrap versus raise. I will tell you this. I have 69 portfolio companies. Half of them bootstrap 1 to 3 years before they ever raise venture capital. That would be my opinion. I think bootstrapping is great. I think you learn a ton. I think you learn how to be resilient. You learn how to stretch every dollar. I think you shouldn't raise capital until something's happening in the business that makes you think, now might be a time to raise. We could accelerate our growth. We're on to something. That's honestly what I think.